Good evening to everyone in the gallery and those joining us online this evening. Thank you for taking the time to come to this meeting. We really appreciate that. I welcome you to the June 2025 Maribyrnong Council meeting. My name is Pradeep Tiwari and I'm the Mayor of the City of Maribyrnong. I declare this meeting open at 6:39 p.m. Maribyrnong City Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land, the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung and Boon Wurrung Bunurong peoples of the Kulin Nation, and pays its respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I'd just like to request everyone to either turn off your phones or put them on mute for the duration of this meeting. I advise there are no apologies for tonight's meeting. Councillors, are there any leave of absence requests? Nope. We'll proceed to conflicts of interest. In accordance with the Local Government Act 2020, do any councillors have a conflict of interest in relation to any of their agenda items? Yep. Councillor Semra?
I declare that I have a general conflict of interest. Agenda item 9.8, proposed lease, 19 Hocking Street, Footscray, Bulldogs Community Children's Lease. The nature of my conflict of interest is past and potential employment with Western Bulldogs Community Foundation.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. When we come to that, we'll be requesting you to leave the chamber for the during of that consideration. Before we proceed with this evening's proceedings, I'd just like to advise an important governance initiative being introduced to our meeting procedures. I'm very pleased to advise that Council is introducing electronic voting rather than voting by a show of hands. I'll now be requesting councillors to cast their votes electronically, with councillor votes to be then displayed on the screen. Electronic voting will provide a clear and immediate record of the voting record for each item in Council's minutes. This governance change is part of Council's ongoing commitment to best practice governance, integrity and transparency in our decision-making processes. We'll now proceed with tonight's agenda. Councillors, tonight we have a very special and significant commemoration, and I'd like to call for a councillor to move a motion to suspend standing orders to enable Council to observe and acknowledge the formal displaying of Sarah Carter's mayoral robes in the Council chamber. I call for a councillor to second this motion. Councillor Lamb. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. Just give it a moment to come up on the screens. Just push it again. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. The motion is carried. I now invite Sarah Carter's family to the council. Gaynor, Nicole, if you would like to, anyone would like to come to the table, please. Thank you. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging Gaynor Morris, mother of Sarah Carter, who's with us in the chamber this evening, along with other family members. In March this year, Council resolved to undertake a number of initiatives to commemorate former Mayor and Councillor Sarah Carter. One of these initiatives was to display Sarah Carter's mayoral robes, which were generously donated to Council by her family. This evening, we formally recognise the displaying of Sarah Carter's mayoral robes in the Council chamber to commemorate her 16 years of service to Maribyrnong Council and the broader community. As we reflect on her achievements, it is significant to acknowledge Sarah Carter's 3 mayoral terms in 2011, 2020 and 2023. Sarah became the first third-term female mayor in 163 years of civic administration, not only in the history of Maribyrnong but also its predecessor, the city of Footscray. In 2023, Sarah received the esteemed Mayor Emeritus Award at the Municipal Association of Victoria's Victorian Councillor Service Awards. This award is presented to councillors who have served 3 or more full terms as mayor, recognising their commitment to local government and local communities. Council considers this displaying of Sarah Carter's mayoral robes a fitting tribute to her lasting legacy at Maribyrnong Council. I'd like to invite other councillors to speak if any councillor has to add any words. Councillor Lamb.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I spoke a number of times already regarding about the past of the councillor, mayor, former mayor Sarah Carter. It's very emotional every time think or talk about that. She's a wonderful councillor, very dedicated to all groups or all residents in the community, and they're well known out there with a stakeholder. And there's so many wonderful work for particular young people. I mean, involved with the daughter of the West, son of the West, all the things she did. You know, it's a hard to mention name, but I have been working with her as a deputy mayor, or I was mayor and she's a deputy. We're working along very, very well. And, you know, it is a shock and it's a loss for the whole community when I did a number of events and people ask me and I tell them, everybody just, you know, shocked to hear that news. I thank you so much for her mother and her relatives or friends and her Nichol's also here tonight as well, and her friend Vivian. So thanks very much. So I'm sure that now everyone come here for a meeting, they can see her robe and just remind of her, a wonderful councillor, a former mayor for the city of Maribyrnong. So thanks again for being here tonight with us.
Thank you, Councillor Lam. I'd like to now hand it over to family, Gaynor, if you'd like to say any words. You can maybe speak into the mic if that's okay. Pull it forward, please.
I'd like to thank, sorry.
Let's pull the whole machine. Thank you.
I'd like to thank, on behalf of Sarah's family and friends, this token may seem small in your eyes, but to remember Sarah and to have her legacy in this council specifically of 16 years of service, and, you know, her ringing me up and she'd be at council and she'd go, "Mum, you've got to come over there, there's ghosts in this building," and she would always be stirring me with stories, you know, from council, but she dedicated a lot of her time and dedication to the community, and so this may seem small, but in my eyes and her family's eyes, this is a wonderful token to a legacy that will live on, and most rightly in the right place, which is in the Maribyrnong Council office. So thank you very much. It's lovely to see something like this dedicated to her. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaynor, and I'd like to add, as you said, you know, it is a small token of all her work, and for me personally, you know, I have her looking over me at all times now, so I really appreciate it, and thank you to the council for this. So, any other councillors like to speak? If Councillor Thomas.
Trying to push. No? Yep, there I am, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to reflect again on the energy and enthusiasm that Sarah brought to her role. I think for the time that I was on council with her, which was the last 4 years, and I'm pretty much guessing for the entire 16 years, you know, it was great. She inspired people. She did a lot to inspire young people and young women in particular to take up leadership roles and to not be afraid to kind of step into a public role that she took up when she was quite young. So, you know, I think there's a lot of young women out there who are contemplating, it might not be politics, but some other form of leadership role in the community because of Sarah's leadership. So, again, echo your thanks, our thanks for giving us this memento that we know is important to you, and it's important to us too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Now, before I put the motion to resume standing orders, would the family like to take photos or come up at all? Are you or your?
Yeah, I'll take one of you.
Yes, please do. Thank you. And I'll now call for a councillor to move a motion to resume standing orders. Councillor Thomas. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Lamb. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to public question time. Public question time is managed in accordance with Council's governance rules. Members of the public can submit a maximum of 3 questions prior to the commencement of the meeting. As Chair, I will decide who answers the question, and public question time is limited to 15 minutes, unless councillors consent to an extension. Just before we move on, is the live recording on? Yep, thank you. Thank you. We'll move on to the public questions now. So council has received 24 questions. I'll start with the first question by Carlo De Laura asks the following 3 questions, and a single response has been provided for the first 2 questions. Question 1, the development on Hopkins Street has been less than ideal. I was wondering what the council is planning to do to rectify this. One option that appears plausible would be planting trees along the wide footpath of Hopkins Street where the new development has taken place. This would add much needed greenery in the area as well as diverting the wind, which is a particular problem. And question 2, what is the council doing to increase the number of trees in Footscray and surrounding areas? I might add it to the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Mayor. And through you, there have been a number of trees planted as part of the Joseph's Road redevelopment. And as part of Council's urban forest strategy, we'll be looking at further opportunities to increase tree canopy in the area. And yes, that also includes Hopkins Street.
Thank you. And their third question is, the Footscray Plaza area remains a dangerous and threatening environment. What is the council doing to assist those who need help while making the area safer for residents?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, Council is aware of the issues you've raised. We're working to address these with the police, local businesses and other authorities, agencies and social support services who all play a role in creating a safe and welcoming environment for residents, workers and visitors. The issues in Footscray are complex and unfortunately there is no simple solution. The state government is responsible for the provision of support services for people who are experiencing homelessness, the provision of policing for community safety and the provision of services to assist people with mental health needs. For context, being homeless or gathering in a public place is not illegal in Victoria. However, Council works closely with Victoria Police and the Department of Families, Fairness and Housing to address these complex issues around homelessness and broader community safety. We also work with community service organisations such as CoHealth and Unison Housing. Council is working hard to improve safety and amenity for all, focusing our resources on the Footscray CBD. This includes footpath cleaning, waste and graffiti removal and public domain improvements like street furniture. Council also supports a wide range of community and commercial organisations that hold events and festivals to activate them all and encourage people to visit. And I would say in closing, Mayor, that Council cannot do this on its own, and it is something that we need all those other agencies, including the state government and the police, to work with us on.
Thank you, CEO. We'll move on to the next question by Pauline Ashton, who asks the following 2 questions. We have a single response provided. Question 1, are residents in the city of Maribyrnong permitted to add soil and or other materials to raise the ground level of a property zoned LSIO in Maribyrnong, for example, a garden or unimproved area, where that area is empty or without any built structure or works? And question 2 is, if the answer to question 1 is yes, does Council by itself or by referral to Melbourne Water require a permit for these works? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. And could I suggest the Director of Planning and Environment, Mike McIntosh, answer this question?
Sure.
Thank you, Celia, and through the Mayor. A planning permit is required for works within a land subject to inundation overlay, including any change to the natural or existing condition of topography of the land. There may be exemptions for works related to gardening, and we suggest that you contact the City Planning Department with specific details for advice.
Thank you, Mike. We'll move on to the next submission, who is Jennifer Sheme, who asks the following 3 questions, and we have a single response provided. Question 1, given that the June 10, 2025 deadline for the removal of the Anglers Tavern car park containers has passed, can you provide a clear explanation for the significant delay in both enforcement and communication regarding this ongoing issue, including what specific enforcement actions is the Council currently taking? Question 2, what is the firm timeline for the complete removal of these containers from the Anglers Tavern car park? And third question, what proactive measures will the Council implement to identify and address similar planning breaches in the future, reducing reliance on community complaints? CEO, I might get the mic to answer that as well, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, the Council continues to work with the owners and operators of Anglers Tavern to have the shipping containers removed. And as previously advised to the submitter, Council is unable to provide specific details regarding specific enforcement actions we've been taken due to privacy reasons, but the options open to us include fines, enforcement order applications to VCAT, and prosecution via the courts, or a combination of these. The operators have advised that they need additional time to organise for removal of the containers, and we've been assured that they will be removed by the end of July 2025, and we will continue to monitor the site.
Thank you for that, and we'll move on to the next submission who is asked by Lisa Quincy. Asks the following questions. How can you ensure that our private property, families, our community and bridge infrastructure are insured against flood damage caused by illegal containers, unsecured kegs and large commercial bins, especially considering that the Anglers Hotel and many residents along the river corridor, including myself, do not have flood insurance? CEO?
Thank you, through the Mayor. Generally speaking, it's understood that the liability for damage caused by structures on or moved from private property lies with the property owner from which it came. Therefore, it is in their interest to ensure that containers, kegs and bins are appropriately secured to avoid potential liability. Of course, this is advice and it is of general nature and should not be taken as legal advice. Specific legal advice to establish who is responsible is always recommended in determining liability if and when the particular circumstance occurs.
Thank you. The second question is, the Anglers Hotel is not sanctioned as a nightclub. However, it is advertised as one promotional material. Videos promote a nightclub and a dance party hosted in the sports bar Christmas Eve. It looks like a nightclub, operates as a nightclub, patrons drunk, passed out, etc. Why it is allowed to operate as a pseudo nightclub? Might get Mike to answer this.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. The Anglers Tavern is a long-standing hotel originally established prior to the 1870s, and as such it holds existing use rights as a hotel or bar. These uses allow for consumption of liquor and food, entertainment and dancing. This existing use right prevents Council from controlling the general use of the premises.
Thank you. And the third question is, can Council advise why the Anglers Tavern not seek the correct authority permit to open pits, connect commercial pumps when they recently put in large pipes and overflow into our riverbeds? Melbourne Water cannot explain this. Mike, I'll hand it back to you, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. At this point in time, Council is unable to explain whether the works were undertaken by Anglers Tavern or another entity, and cannot explain why they didn't get permission if it was required. We'll have to take that one on notice for further investigation.
Thank you, Mike. We'll move on to submission 5 by Thomas Foreman, who asks the following question. Can the CEO please confirm whether Council's decision to conclude that Council is not proposing to take any further action in relation to this petition at this time, without any direct communication with the petition lead, was appropriate and procedurally sufficient given the scale and subject matter of the petition that has received 966 signatures? And if not, what corrective actions will be taken to ensure transparency, notification, and petition lead engagement in future deliberations of this kind? I'll get the CEO to respond.
Council did not consider it necessary to meet with the lead petitioner on this matter, nor is it a requirement for Council to do so. Council undertook its due diligence into the potential acquisition of this site. Council acknowledges the significance of the site. However, it has concluded that it is required to take a balanced economic, social and sustainable citywide approach towards both open space and Council's open space reserve within the municipality. Council also has several land holdings within the Footscray CBD, which could potentially be the subject of strategic land redevelopment in future years. And therefore, investment in the purchase of additional sites is not considered financially prudent at this time.
The second question is, can Council please clearly outline the procedural steps and criteria required for the potential acquisition of the subject site, 63 to 67 Nicholson Street, Footscray, to be formally approved? CEO.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Council, in considering any strategic land acquisition, is bound by the Local Government Act 2020, Council's property sale, transfer and acquisition policy, and Council's community engagement policy. There are also numerous other matters to consider in any potential strategic land acquisition, inclusive of best practice and legislative requirements, transparency and community engagement requirements, certified market valuations, best value principles, and the financing of any proposed acquisition. Council is also guided by its Council Plan 2021 to 25, the annual budget 24-25, and its 10-year financial plan 2021 to 22 to 2030-31. And we consider Council considers all of these documents in considering strategic matters such as land acquisitions. Any strategic land acquisition would be subject to statutory community engagement.
And the third question is, has Council undertaken any analysis of the long-term cost of inaction, including future land acquisition costs, public health, amenity, access, inequity and livability impacts? CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, as previously advised in the May 2025 Governance Report, Council undertook due diligence on this matter and has determined not to take any further action on this matter.
Thank you. We'll move on to submission 6, asked by Warren Penner, who asks the following 3 questions with a single response provided. Question 1, why is the Footscray Park 2011 Master Plan Review Advisory Committee now being asked by Council to consider reviewing the Quarry Park Master Plan when they are not mandated to make such a decision or to change the terms of reference? Question 2, Quarry Park was never mentioned within the scope and only mentioned in the background identified with surrounding parks. How is the process in question 1 in line with the Council motion and the intent to build public trust in delivering a focused Footscray Park Master Plan? And the third question, the Quarry Park Master Plan 2016 is only 8 years into its lifetime. Why is the agenda here, and why is Quarry Park even being discussed at this advisory committee? I might hand it to Patrick, Director of Infrastructure, to respond.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. So as a background context to this, I can confirm at its meeting on the 21st of May 2024, Council adopted the Footscray Park Master Plan Review Advisory Committee Terms of Reference. In the body of that report, there is a section on Quarry Park, and it specifically notes that the integration of Quarry Park into the broader Footscray Park Master Plan recognises the symbiotic relationships between the parkland zones from a sporting, passive use, major event and management perspective, ensuring that the community experience of the site is at the forefront of planning. Further, at its meeting on the 10th of September 2024, Council appointed the Footscray Park Master Plan Review Advisory Committee members. Again, in the body of this report, review of the 2016 Quarry Park Master Plan was specifically mentioned as part of that scope.
Thank you, Patrick. And just before I go to the next submission, noting the time, I'd like, with the consent of council, I wish to propose an extension to public question time of 15 minutes. Councillors, do I have your consent? Yep. Thank you. We'll now continue with the public question time. Submission 7 by Luke Atme, who asks the following questions. Question 1, could the council please advise when the result of the community survey on additional local laws conducted via the Your City, Your Voice platform during March and April 2025 will be made publicly available? I'll get the CEO to respond.
Thank you. Officers are aiming to brief the councillors on the first phase of community engagement and survey results and present a draft of proposed changes in July this year, with a view to seek community comment on the proposed draft local law. The material available for the second phase of the public consultation will include the results of the community survey undertaken earlier this year.
Thank you. Next question is, given that over 2 months have passed since the survey closed, can the council confirm whether the community feedback received will be published in full and what steps are being taken to ensure transparency in this consultation process?
Through you, Mayor, yes, we can confirm the results will be made available as part of the next phase of consultation on the draft local laws.
Thank you. And question 3, will the council commit to regularly updating the community on the progress and outcomes of public consultations regarding proposed local law changes, including how community input informs final decisions?
Through you, Mayor, the answer here is also yes. The next phase of the review of our local law will be to seek council endorsement for public exhibition during the months of July and August. Feedback from this process will inform the final draft of the local law, which will be reported publicly for council to adopt in November this year.
Thank you. Moving on to submission 8, asked by Jackie Toll, who asks the following questions. In relation to the change to the lease agreement for Bulldogs childcare, how does council intend to ensure best value for community when the profit will be leaving the community and going to a commercial entity? Might get Lucas.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. So, Council has not yet determined this matter and it's listed on tonight's agenda. Maribyrnong City Council has a lease and licensing policy which is developed to meet a number of objectives as outlined on page 3 of that policy. Under the policy, Council can enter into occupancy agreements for one or more principles outlined on page 7 of the policy, one of which includes making its properties available for commercial or private purposes for activation or financial community benefit. A copy of this policy is available on the Council's website, and as I said, no determination has yet been made in regards to this matter.
Thank you. And question 2, additionally, when there's increased public awareness of the issues inherent in a commercial for-profit provider, why do Council think it's appropriate to allow the community to risk the same issues and the lack of quality, no matter the imaginary guarantee identified by the Western Bulldogs? Again, I'll hand it back to you, Lucas.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. As with any leasing arrangement, not-for-profit or commercial, due diligence is, of course, required as part of that process. It is important to say, however, that Council is only determining whether to enter into a leasing agreement with the Western Bulldogs and the specific conditions associated with that lease as attached on tonight's agenda.
Okay, we'll move on to submission 9, asked by Winston Payne, who asked 3 questions, with the third question being a statement. While Council thanks Mr Payne for his statement, the third question will not be read out this evening. Question 1, on Sunday morning, a man wearing ankle bracelet stabbed and stomped on the head of an older man in Nicholson Street Mall, Footscray. I read in the newspaper the man was a freed immigration detainee. The victim is 60 years old man and maybe won't survive. This is very scary for me and my family. Footscray already has too much social housing and many violent crimes before. What is Council doing to make the streets safer for everyone? And I'll hand it over to the CEO to answer this question.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. And I have addressed some of the issues around Footscray CBD earlier, but I'm happy to advise that we're actively addressing safety concerns in the Footscray CBD through several initiatives. Firstly, the Community Safety and Wellbeing Action Plan. The Council is developing a comprehensive action plan to enhance community safety. This plan involves collaboration with police, community groups and state and federal governments. Secondly, increased outreach services. The Council is lobbying the state government for more outreach services to address issues related to drug use, homelessness and mental health. And we are hopeful we may have an announcement about that at some stage soon. Number 3, enhanced policing and crime prevention. There is a focus on improved policing and crime prevention measures in the area. This includes working closely with local police to ensure a safer environment. Fourth, community engagement. The Council is engaging with the community to understand their concerns and gather feedback. This helps in tailoring safety measures to meet the specific needs of Footscray residents. And fifthly, maintenance and cleanliness. Efforts are being made to improve the maintenance and cleanliness of the Footscray CBD, which includes better footpath maintenance, road repairs, and cleaning public spaces. These are just some of the steps which are part of the broader strategy to create a safer and more welcoming environment in Footscray. And I must say it's something that the Council's united on, and we're certainly moving to play our part in that complex issue.
Okay. Thank you. And the second question is, I have sent many emails to politician Katie Hall and elected councillors, but never get reply. I worry maybe something wrong with the email system. Can IT department please check if councillors are getting emails from the community? Yes, please. If any councillors want to add to that.
Yeah, no, I'm just happy to speak on my behalf. It's unfortunate, but I haven't received any emails from Mr. Payne. I don't know if he's in the room here. Are you in the room, Winston? No, okay. But I would like to propose that if you haven't had any luck trying to reach me via email, my phone number's up on the website, so by all means, please feel free to call me and we can have a chat about any issues you might have.
Thank you. I think I'd echo that sentiment for all councillors. Councillor Meredith, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I think that would be echoed from all of us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Now we've reached the end of public question time. Public question time is now closed at 7:11 p.m. Just before we move into the next stage, I just wanted to, with the consent of the meeting, I propose to move item 9.16, the governance report, forward as the next item of business. Councillors, do I have your consent? Yes, thank you. So, I've got to go to 9.16. Yeah. Almost there. Yeah. So, yeah, moving on to agenda item 9.16, Governance Report, May 2025. I call for a councillor to move the motion. Councillor Lamb. It's up on the screen now. Just put your mic on, please, Councillor Lamb.
Official recommendation that Council note the May 2025 Governance Report and second endorse the name of the Town Hall Meeting Room G4 as the less 20 minutes room in response to the Council's noted of motion 2025, April 2025.
Thank you, Councillor Lamb. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Semra. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. Firstly, thank you, Mrs. Sherry Kun, the widow of Mr. Les Twentimans here tonight, and also the foundation staff member and CEOs here tonight. I am pleased to move the motion that Council noted the May 2025 Governance Report. This including the endorsement of naming Town Hall Meeting Room G4 as the less 20 minutes room in response to the note of motion at the April meeting. So I've spoken lengthy last time in April, a couple of months ago, about his less 20 minutes was a long life advocacy for young people, the social justice, and for those doing it tough in their life, especially here in Melbourne West. His work has had changed life and shaped the community, This naming is a meaningful way for council to formally recognize and honor of his legacy. I was very lucky to meet him and know him. That's a wonderful man who always advocates and also want the young people to be a better life and for their future. So the meeting room G4 is a well-used, accessible space in our town hall, and its location facing a knife exchange and movement at the Footscray police station is provide a poignant connection to the less password. I commend this motion to my fellow councillor and hope you can support, and thank you for the officers for their progressing this important recognition. So I move the motion, and thank you very much for everyone to be here.
Thank you. Are there any questions or points of clarification? Would the second?
Yep.
Yeah, would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Okay. When I think of Les, I think of a trailblazer. And, you know, it's great to see the Les Tenement Foundation continuing to impact, you know, so many young people in Melbourne's West, and specifically those from, you know, disadvantaged backgrounds. I myself was a recipient of the good work of the Les Tenement Foundation. It's definitely played an integral role in my personal development and where I am today. And this is it's a small gesture, but it's a way of council ensuring that Les's legacy is remembered for a very long time, and rightfully so.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Pereira?
Yeah, thank you. I think naming the room is a great opportunity to recognise the contribution of Les Twentyman, but also the enduring work of a great local organisation in the foundation. And my screen's turned off. And I also want to thank you for the very generous donation of the photo to the room, which on permanent loan, which is amazing. And I think through further consideration of the use of the room, we're working towards making it a welcoming space that supports the participation of young people so that they can also feel confident to come in and spend more time here in a building that might otherwise feel a little bit like it's not their space. And so I hope that that will help us work more strongly with young people in our community. So thank you.
Any other councillors? Oh, well, I just wanted to say thank you to the family and CEO for coming, and I just want to say the naming of this room, it's a fitting tribute to Les, whose life has always been dedicated to standing up for our youth, our most vulnerable, and our community's future. I think it's especially symbolic that the room faces the powerful knife sculpture at the Footscray Police Station, which is a daily reminder of the challenges that Les spent decades fighting to overcome. So from youth homelessness to crime prevention, Les had been a fierce advocate and tearless warrior for those doing it tough. So I just want to acknowledge and commend our council officers for their thoughtful and respectful handling of this process, and extend a sincere thank you to Councillor Lamb for bringing this motion forward. I think the naming is more than just a sign on the door. It's just a reminder of the power of advocacy, compassion, and persistence. Values that Les Twentyman lived by, and values we should all strive to uphold in our work. So thank you to everyone involved. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your vote. The motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you for that, councillors. We'll go back to the start of where we left off from again. Reports from committees. Confirmation of minutes, which is agenda item. I will just thank you. Thank you very much. We'll just allow Councillor Lamb to resume her seat. Thank you, Councillor Lamb. And we'll move on to confirmation of minutes. Agenda item 6.1, confirmation of minutes 20 May 2025. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Meredith.
That council confirms the minutes of the council meeting held on 20th of May 2025.
I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Lamb. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. We'll move on to agenda item 6.2, confirmation of minutes 26 May 2025. I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Thomas.
Oh, yep, there we are. That council confirms the minutes of the hearing of budget submissions held on 26th of May 2025.
Thank you. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Pereira. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. We'll move on to reports from committees. Agenda item 7.1, minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee, 11 March 2025. I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Lamb.
That council not the confirmed minute of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 11th of March 2025.
Thank you. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Meredith. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Moving on to agenda item 7.2, Footscray Park Advisory Committee, update from Committee Chair, Councillor Semra. Councillor Semra, Chair of the Footscray Park Advisory Committee, has requested the opportunity to provide a verbal report to Council on the Footscray Park Advisory Committee. I invite Councillor Semra to address the Council. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. As Chair of the Footscray Park Advisory Committee, I'm pleased to provide an update on our ongoing review of the 2011 Master Plan. I'm joined in this work by Councillor Meredith, who serves as the committee's substitute representative. Alongside local stakeholders and passionate community members, we're working together to ensure the plan reflects the current needs and aspirations of our community while preserving the park's character for generations to come. Footscray Park is fondly known as the People's Park, and rightly so. It's one of the largest and most intact examples of Edwardian-era park design in Australia, with its sweeping views of the Maribyrnong River, heritage-listed arbors, ornamental ponds, and expansive lawns. Footscray Park holds immense historical, cultural, and environmental value. It's a rare and treasured green space in the inner west. Open space like this is essential to our well-being, particularly in a rapidly growing and changing municipality. Footscray Park is a place where people come together to walk, play, celebrate, rest, and connect with nature. Our responsibility as custodians of this space is to protect and preserve it for future generations to enjoy. Since 2004, my family and I have enjoyed everything this park has to offer. I've witnessed my own family members taking their wedding photos beside the ponds, shared countless barbecues with friends, and gone on endless walks through the gardens. For so many of us, Footscray Park isn't just a park. It's part of our personal story. I'd like to also provide an update on some key recent developments that reflect the progress being made. Western Lawn redevelopment a major 8.1 million investment has turned what was effectively a salt plain into a vibrant, accessible community lawn. This aligns with the 2011 master plan's intent to create an active use precinct and provides much needed open space for recreation. The Henry Turner South Pavilion officially opened in 2023. This 8 million facility has significantly enhanced the precinct. It's multi-purpose, female-friendly, and built with inclusivity and flexibility in mind, serving a range of sporting and community needs. The Footscray Ponds restoration, stage 1 is now complete. Works have included irrigation upgrades, garden bed reinstatements, and installation of safety barriers, all guided by the findings of a recent safety audit. Restoration of the historic arbors and improvements to water treatment will begin in the new financial year. And lastly, Quarry Park capping works are currently underway, further strengthening our commitment to environmental management and public safety at an approximate cost of $2.8 million. Footscray Park also continues to be a major events destination. Recently, the New Year's Eve celebration was a standout moment for the community, drawing thousands of locals and visitors to celebrate in this iconic space. In closing, the current review of the master plan is an opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to Footscray Park as a shared space, one that's welcoming, accessible, and protected for all. I look forward to continuing this important work with the advisory committee, and I'm looking forward to hearing directly from our residents during the upcoming community consultations, which will be inclusive, accessible, and designed to reflect the voices of our diverse community. It's important that we reach a broad cross-section to shape a vision for the precinct that truly belongs to everyone. Our broader community to ensure Footscray Park remains the people's park today and into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. I call for a councillor to move a motion that the update by Councillor Semra be noted by Council. Councillor Yengi. You might need to read that.
That Council notes the update provided by Councillor Semra, Chair of Footscray Park Advisory Committee.
Thank you. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Lamb. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. We'll move on to petitions, and I'd like to remind councillors that in accordance with Council's governance rules, a councillor may read the petition text, but is not permitted to speak to the petition. Agenda item 8.1. Petition, proposed changes to parking arrangements in Newell Street between Nicholson Street and Moore Street. I'll call for a councillor to move the motion. Councillor Thomas, please read the motion.
That Council 1 receives and notes the petition, proposed changes to parking arrangements in Newell Street between Nicholson Street and Moore Street, and 2, requests the Chief Executive Officer to consider the petition and determine the appropriate response.
Thank you. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Lamb. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. We'll move on to officer reports. Agenda item 9.1, adoption of annual budget 2025-2026. I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Yengi.
All right. That Council notes the proposed budget 2025-2026 submissions shown at attachment 3. Having considered the submissions received and those heard at the budget submission hearing on 26th of May 2025, resolves to include the following items to receive funding for the 25-26 financial year. $20,000 for Maribyrnong River and Waterways Association to expand community outreach and strengthen strategic alignment. increase the annual neighbourhood houses allocation by 10,000 each, and this includes Angliss Neighbourhood House, Braybrook Maidstone Neighbourhood House, Duke Street Community House, West Footscray Neighbourhood House and Yarraville Community Centre. That council thank all submitters and request the Chief Executive Officer to advise submitters in writing of the outcome of the proposed budget of 25-26 submission process. That council adopts the annual budget 25-26 and the subsequent 3 years as shown in attachment 1, declares 120,103.99 as the amount which council intends to raise by general rates and charges. The general rate be raised by the application of differential rates. The following differential rate amounts for the rating period commencing 1 July 25 and ending 30 June 26. Residential properties 100%. Commercial properties 135%. Do you want me to read the numbers as well? The decimal point numbers. Do I need to read them out as well? Yeah, okay. Industrial properties 160%, vacant land residential 200%, vacant land commercial 300%, vacant land industrial 300%, cultural and recreational properties 100%. Declare a municipal charge of $20 for each rateable property for the rating period commencing 1 July 25 and ending 30 June 26. Declare a waste management service charge for waste collection and disposal on each rateable property and non-rateable properties where the service is provided for the period commencing 1 July 25 and ending 30 June 26. It's a long one. Waste management charge 1, 2 services, $292.30. Waste management charge 2, 3 services, $352.30. That council grants a rebate to a maximum of $230 to all City of Maribyrnong residents eligible to receive a concession through the State Government Municipal Rates Concession Scheme. That counts that each owner of rateable land who meets the eligibility criteria a rebate of 50% on residential vacant land whose current differential is 200% to residential ratepayers, noting this rebate does not apply for the State Government Fire Service levy, where a certificate of occupancy permit has been issued within 18 months of the completed building demolition, or the development has been impacted by a construction company being placed into administration and a certificate of occupancy permit has been issued within 48 months of the completed building demolition, and notes that interest on unpaid rates will be charged in accordance with the Local Government Act, currently at 10%.
Thank you, Councillor Yengi. Well done, yes. I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Thomas, would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Yes. Okay, so I needed a moment to catch my breath after all of that. Gosh, what do I want to say? Okay, so I guess that was a whole mouthful. So over the last 6 months, we've been busy working away not only at the budget, but a whole bunch of other items that are coming up on our agenda. And again, it's just a snippet of the other things. Disappeared. So I just want to firstly thank our officers not only for the late nights that they've worked getting this budget done, but also for their patience through the arduous process and putting up with me for the thousands of questions that I've been asking them. I'd like to also take the time to thank our community members who took out time out of their busy schedules to provide feedback, and especially those who presented at the budget briefing session on the 26th of May. Thank you for your ongoing commitment and advocacy within our municipality. This was my very first budget, and I have to admit it was a very difficult budget to prepare, probably for all of us newbies. But in particular, acknowledging that there's so much need in our community. Also, the ever-changing economic and social landscape and the increased demands that have been placed on councils to deliver more and more services, and obviously not to mention the limited funds. But I think and I hope that the community will share in this with us. I'm very proud that we've been able to present a budget that's balanced and one that not only addresses access to services, but one that also ensures quality of services offered despite the precarious economic climate.
Thank you, Councillor Yengi. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Sorry, yes.
Thank you.
Just really to echo what Councillor Yengi said, particularly about the budget submissions, and I think the process that we as a councillor group, but also what happens behind the scenes with our council officers and also with the community. I know this year we had the kitchen table conversations, which were new, and the other, the future, I've just forgotten what it was called, but the future Foundations for the Future process, which essentially sort of, I guess, laid bare for our community members the situation that we are in terms of, as Councillor Yengi said, we've got continuing pressures on the budget and where it can stretch and how far it can stretch, but at the same time wanting to provide, of course, really high quality services, high quality open space and other community services to all of our community. So we think we've got the balance right. We hope we have, and I'm sure the community will let us know if they don't think we have. It's always a challenge, but we are in a stable financial position, which is a really great thing. And perhaps our community doesn't know that, but we are in a stable financial position despite all the financial pressures, and that is a really good position for our council to be in on behalf of our community. So thanks to our councillors as well we all worked pretty well together, I think, in getting to this point. So I'm really pleased that we are here and that we can offer the budget out to the community now in its final form.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Semra.
Yeah. I'd just like to reiterate what fellow councillors have highlighted, and also maybe to highlight some of the key projects in our proposed budget. Some being, and something important is maintaining a continued focus on addressing challenges in the Footscray CBD. Also, the commencing of the Maribyrnong Aquatic Centre water slide and splash park development. Some major projects as well, commencing construction of the multi-purpose pavilion at Hanson Reserve. Also, there is a substantial investment in roads and footpaths, as well as, proposed increase to our neighbourhood houses and the support that we give such important, community-driven organisations within the municipality. That's just some of the many, I think, important things that are being funded across our capital works and the support we're giving.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No? Sure. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. We'll move on to agenda item 9.2, draft council plan. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Thomas. Oh.
that Council 1 endorse the draft Council Plan 2025 to 2029, shown at Attachment 3 for the purpose of community engagement, and 2, notes that, that following the community engagement process, a final report will be presented to Council in July 2025 to adopt the Council Plan 2025 to 2029.
Thank you. I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Semra. Are there any questions or points of clarifications? Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I'll say a few words. This has, again, been a months and months long process, not just by the councillors and the officers, but by several thousand people across our community, either online, via your City of Voice, or in person through the Foundations for Tomorrow and the kitchen table conversations, drop-ins and other engagement processes. It's a slightly different council plan to last time, which is good because it reflects the, I guess, the ever-evolving aspirations and expectations of our community. And having, I think, that more deliberative process this time probably helped councillors at least to work out how we should respond best to what we're hearing out in the community around where the community wants us to sort of take our work as a council. There's a few, there's an action plan at the back, which is sort of where I guess the meat around the council plan really is, where all the action happens, and there's a few things in there that I'm really looking forward to. We discussed a lot, the councillors, around how to improve participation from our community, how to support best, and so we're going to do looking at sort of reviewing some of our community, or better understanding the impact of that contribution that people make through our community advisory committees and panels. We're proposing to review the reducing harm from gambling policy, because even in a couple of years things have shifted quite significantly. We're going to looking at developing a placemaking strategy. As Councillor Semra mentioned, there's a focus on central Footscray, which is a very strong focus for this council. We're looking at a public realm plan and reviewing the Footscray structure plan. We're looking at investigating a low emission zone in partnership with the Victorian government, and of course there's all of those, a lot of those things are new, but there's also just that ongoing work that our officers do, providing services to the community through our libraries, through our community centres, our fantastic parks and open spaces, through our tree planting and support of friends groups. We've got public art, we've got all our sports programs. All of that's in there in some way, and if it's not, we're still doing it anyway. So I really hope that all of the people who contributed to the development of the plan come back and have a look to see how we've responded to your feedback. I think we have, I'm confident that we have, and I'm really hoping that you think so too, and I'm looking forward to it coming back to the chamber after it's been out for consultation.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Semra, would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. I would say this would be, one of the most important documents that, as a council, we would be, that will come before us over the next 4 years, and it's more than a plan. I would say it's a community roadmap built with the voices, of, as Councillor Thomas rightly stated, thousands of residents. We engaged 2,500 residents over 6 months of deep engagement. It outlines not only where we want to go, but how we'll get there, guided by the principles of inclusion, sustainability, connection, and transparency. Our community told us clearly they want a council that listens, acts, and leads with integrity. This plan does just that. It's structured around 5 bold strategic objectives: ethical governance, wellbeing and safety, environmental sustainability, thriving community, and connected community. Each of these pillars is backed by clear actions, measurable indicators, and a commitment to ongoing community input. Whether it's creating safer neighbourhoods, preparing for climate impacts, improving transport and open space, or investing in our libraries and our youth, this plan balances immediate needs with long-term resilience. We've also been honest about the challenges we face, from cost of living pressures to climate change, and we've positioned council to lead with innovation and courage in response. This plan reflects who we are as a municipality: diverse, dynamic, and determined. It speaks to our values, which is respect, courage, integrity being some of them, and charts a course for a future where every resident can thrive. To everyone who contributed to this vision, thank you. This plan is your voice in action, and I'm proud to, to have it, adopted today. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. And just before I go to other councillors, I just wanted to note that the officer recommendation as read out by Councillor Thomas notes that the report will come back to council in July. However, I've just been corrected by the governance that it will be actually presented to council in August 2025. If the mover and all councillors are okay with that, we can note that change. Thank you. Change noted. So we'll take it as accepted. Mover, if you that will come back to council in August 2025. Thank you for that. Now I'll move on to other councillors. Councillor Yengi.
Thank you. I just wanted to say a couple of words. So this has also been another labour of love for us, as Councillor Bernadette's mentioned. So building on the community's vision, I think we've really tried to create a plan that is the embodiment of our community's needs, wants and future aspirations. We may not have captured everything because, again, there's so much need, and I think, it was a really challenging process for us to try and have less because, we would have loved to have had more. But I really hope that, I feel that we've created the building blocks of something that I hope we can all be proud of. And like Councillor Semra has mentioned, this plan doesn't belong to councillors. This is something that belongs to all of us. So I just really want to encourage our community as part of this engagement process to take the time to review this draft, to provide their input. And look, even if it's just one line, I think it's really important for us to be able to capture as many voices as we can. And, ultimately, I think, it's really imperative for all of us to input into this so that, together we can shape, I guess, the Maribyrnong community that we want to see.
Thank you, Councillor Yengi. Councillor Pereira.
Thank you. Yeah, I had labour of love written down as well, but I had emphasis on the labour. But I think it's the plan is better for it, and it is quite an enormous document because it captures the many strategies and action plans and all of the work of council. And I also want to encourage the community to look very closely at this plan and evaluate the objectives and the strategies and the indicators, and to let us know if you think that there's something missing. And this document sits alongside the budget, and the budget has also been in production for a long time. So we're working towards aligning our financial priorities with our council priorities, and we've been working through that together, and I know the community's been working on that too through the engagement processes, and that's really excellent to see that becoming really participatory and engaged. So please continue to do that through this process. I know everyone in the community has a lot of considerations, including cost of living, and council has price escalation considerations. And we've also seen a lot of things come through in the budget submissions, including lots of requests around active transport and walking and cycling safety. So look for where those things are in the budget and where they could be brought into things within the plan so that we can strengthen the connection between our budget and our council plan moving forward. And make sure that those priorities, especially when there are cost of living challenges for people, that council services are meeting those communities and supporting your life and well-being. So please reach out.
Thank you, Councillor Pereira. Any other councillors? I don't see no light. So I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. We'll move on to agenda item 9.3, Draft Financial Plan 2025-2035. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Lamb.
That council, number one, endorse the draft access plan 2025 to 2035 shown at attachment 1 for the purpose of community engagement. And number two, noted that following the community engagement process, a final report will be presented to council to adopt the access plan 2025 to 2035.
Thank you, Councillor Lamb.
This is
9.5.
This is the draft financial plan. It's correct. Did you say asset plan? Councillor?
Assets, yeah.
It's actually draft financial
Draft
plan. Item 9.3. 9.3. Item 9.3.
Number 3.
Do you want to reread the
Oh,
officer
right.
recommendation,
Okay.
please?
Yep, sorry about that. So that's 9.3. Okay. Yeah, okay. Right. I reread it. Okay. That council, number one, endorse a draft financial plan 2025 to 35 shown at attachment 1 for the purpose of community engagement, and note that the following the community engagement process, a final report will be presented to council to adopt the financial plan 2025 to 2035.
Thank you, Councillor Lamb. I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Meredith. Are there any questions or points of clarification? Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, firstly, I would like to thank you, Director of Corporate Services, Mr. Lucas Gosling and Mark O'Connell. Did a wonderful job here. And as we always, we council, we do listen and we act on that for the community and the residents' wish. So I encourage that the community to have a look at and provide some feedback to us. So, and I'm looking forward to receiving the final report in the near future.
Thank you, Councillor Lamb. The seconder like to speak to the motion?
Just to say thank you to the officers for all of the work that's gone into this, and yeah, we'd love to hear the community's feedback on it as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No? Okay, I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. All right, we're getting good at this. The motion is carried. Agenda item 9.4, Draft Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan 2025 to 2029. I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Yengi, the small one.
That council endorse the draft Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan 25 to 29 shown at attachment 1 for the purpose of community engagement. 2, that council notes that the following community engagement process, notes that following the community engagement process, a final report will be presented to council to adopt the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan 25 to 29, and notes the Community Wellbeing Snapshot 25 will be completed prior to the plan adoption.
Thank you, Councillor Yengi. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Thomas, would the mover like to speak to the motion? Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Yes. I think when the draft of this document came out, I said, I really love this document. I think it just hits the mark in so many ways in terms of articulating what is needed to support our community to have positive mental and physical, or good mental and physical health. Sorry, I should be reading my notes, shouldn't I? And it's a standalone document this year, which is different to the previous council where it was combined in with the council plan. So we've got really, I think it's a good opportunity to kind of, as a platform, to sort of step off by having a real solid focus on the health and wellbeing of our community. It's an integrated document. It's trying to achieve a whole lot of things. It's very ambitious, I think, but ambitious in a really positive way, and it responds in so many ways to some of the needs and vulnerabilities that we know exist within our community. And of course, we want everyone in our community to participate in civic life, in social life, in cultural life, whether that's through arts and culture, environment or sport, whether it's joining a book group or going for a walk along the river. We want to make sure that people have those opportunities, and that council as an organisation is providing the support or working with our community partners to assist our community to really be physically and mentally well. Our city is projected to grow by, I think, about 60,000 people by 2050. So, that's a lot of new people we've got to squeeze into a tiny space. So I think the need to maintain, particularly mental health, when more people are being brought into the same amount of space will be a challenge for us. But I think this document really sets us up for success over the lifetime of the document and beyond. So again, thank you to all the community groups. Some of our community advisory groups gave input into this. Thanks to the officers again for taking council through this process and really taking on board, very strongly our feedback, because when I read the document, I can see the collective input that councillors gave, and it's there in the document, reflected right across the document. So again, it's the draft going out for consultation. I really encourage people to have a look at it and to provide their input, because I think it's a really strong document, and I hope that the community will too. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Would the second like to speak to the motion? Okay. Now put the motion to a vote.
Yeah. I'll speak.
Okay, Councillor Semra, you'd like to speak to the motion. Thank you.
All right. Just real quickly, I think it's important to state that that this plan, the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan, is developed to align with the Council Plan 2025-29 strategic objectives. This ensures the alignment of the draft plan to Council priorities and the community vision. And through the alignment to the community vision and strategic objectives in the Council Plan, it embeds health considerations into Council operations, aiming to build the internal capacity of Council to address health and wellbeing priorities in a coordinated manner, while it's also reflecting the strong partnership with local community agencies. I would definitely reiterate Councillor Thomas's point. I love this plan. It's ambitious, and I'm looking forward to the outcomes.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. Councillor Pereira.
Yeah, thank you. I think most things have been said. It's a really great document, and I want to thank the team for putting a whole lot of work into this. I think this one was all love, so thank you very much to the team. And the document really highlights that council is a lot more than roads, rates and rubbish. And I know it's a big month for community consultation, but this plan is really foundational to people's daily life, to our individual and collective wellbeing, and these are the key ingredients that support a thriving community and society. So if you've got a few more minutes in your day, have a look at this plan, and there's a lot there for people to see in their daily life and in their community. So have a look, and together we can make it even stronger. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pereira. Councillor Meredith.
I would just like to say thank you to all of the officers for all of their work that has gone into this, and also just agree with my fellow councillors on what they've said as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Meredith. Any other councillors? No, I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 9.5, Draft Asset Plan 2025 to 2035. I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Semra.
That council endorse the draft asset plan 2025-2035 shown at attachment 1 for the purpose of community engagement and notes the following: the community engagement process. A final report will be presented to council to adopt the asset plan 2025-2035.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Thomas. Would the mover like to speak to the motion? No. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Formally seconded.
Thank you. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Nope. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your vote. The motion is carried. Agenda item 9.6, Draft Revenue and Rating Plan 2025 to 2029. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Meredith.
That council endorse the Revenue and Rating Plan 2025 to 2029 as shown in attachment 1.
I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Semra. Would the mover like to speak to the motion? Would the seconder like to speak to the motion? Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Thomas.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't realise I still have my light on. So I'll speak to the motion. Really just to say that, again, this is one of those not well known but really important documents that sets out how council, manages the revenue that it does get, how it sets out the rates that, everyone who owns a property in Maribyrnong pays. There's a lot of work that goes into developing it. And of course, again, it's one of the documents over the life of our council plan that guides our decision making, but in particular in terms of revenue and rating. So thanks to everyone for all of their hard work in putting this one together as well.
Thank you. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. We'll now move on to agenda item 9.7, proposed closure of Market Street, West Footscray. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Lamb.
I would like to have alternate motion. Firstly, I want to start by acknowledging the strong community involvement in this project from the early master plan and right through the recent engagement on the Market Street closures. We hear that through this process that some local residents are not supportive of the permanent closures. People who live and work near Market Street would be directly affected by this change, and their concern deserve to be taken seriously. This part of West Footscray is growing fast. New development on Barclay Street, Excess Street, Ashley Street and Summerhill Road might change.
Excuse me, Mayor, just point of order. The councillor needs to move the motion. She's speaking to the motion, I think, without actually moving one. We need a motion to
I'll just get clarification. So let's move the motion.
The alternate motion is on the screen, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think if you just read the alternate motion on the screen, or if you
And sorry, just could I
No, I
also
thought-
ask a question? Just at what point, if this motion lapses, I'd like to foreshadow, I don't know when I foreshadow, now or when the councillor moves the motion.
So
Answer, Councillor Thomas, just procedurally, if this motion lapses or is lost, then
Reverts to the
we go back to the officer report.
Thanks.
that means I have to close, I have to read that though.
No, first of all, you move the motion,
Yeah.
and then someone seconds it.
Oh,
You
sorry.
get a seconder, and then,
Okay.
then you,
I read
So
them, my
read, yeah,
alternate,
read the
alternate motion. Yep,
alternate
okay.
motion, yeah.
so if you could read what's on the screen, councillor, can you see that?
What one is it? To close this.
Can that be made any bigger?
Can you read that, councillor?
There we go, councillor.
No, that's all right, I
It's
can read
bigger
that.
now.
Okay. So I have to read out
Yeah,
that, the notion, yeah, okay. Well, that council, number one, not the community feedback on the proposal of permanently closed Market Street between Graham's and Excess Street, including the overwhelming number of objections submitted through the public consultation process. Number two, acknowledge the rapid development occurring in the surrounding precinct, including significant residential and commercial project at Barclay Street, Access Street, and Ashley Street, Summerhill Road, which will be impact traffic flow and access requirement in the area. Recognize that an update local area traffic management plan, LATMP, should be developed to guide infrastructure decision, including potential street close. Number four, resolve not to proceed with the permanent closing of Market Street. Number five, request that officers undertake a comprehensive review and update of the local area a traffic management plan, LATMP, for the West Footscray precinct. B, explore alternative public rail improvement option for Market Street, including shared space model, time-based or seasonal clauses, and temporary activation pilot that maintain access while enhancing safety and amenity. C, engaging further with local residents, trader, and other local organizations to ensure proposing change reflecting the need of all stakeholders. D, receive a report with update LATMP data and revise design option for Market Street for further consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Lam. I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Yengi, would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As again, I would like to start with acknowledge the strong community involvement in this project, and from the early master plan right through the recent engagement on the Market Street closures. We heard through this process that some local residents are not supportive of permanent closures. People who live and work near Market Street would be directly affected by this change, and their concern deserve to be taken seriously. This part of West Footscray is growing fast. New development on Barclay Street, Excess Street, Ashley Street, and Summerhill Road might change how people move around the area. Rather than just focusing on just Market Street, it makes sense to look at traffic and access across the whole precinct. That's why we are calling for an update local area traffic management plan to help the guide future decisions. This alternative motion allows us to explore other options like shared space, time for seasoning, closing, or temporary pilots. The idea could improve safety and public space while still keeping the street accessible. I support this alternative motion as a way to keep working with the community and plan to other options.
Thank you, Councillor Lam. Are there any questions or points of clarification? No. Oh, I didn't, sorry. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion? No. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? I might add mine. So the Request Development, which is in my ward, it's an exciting project and one that I've personally worked extensively since being elected to this council. It's also in my neighbourhood where I've lived for almost 40 years now. So while the idea of closing Market Street to create a cyclable plaza is well-intentioned and I fully support more open space in our city, I stand with many of the local residents almost 60 of whom have formally voiced their concerns through council process, and over 50 with communications to me as the ward councillor, and who are opposed to this proposal. The primary concerns is that the closure will choke off access to vital services, disrupt the natural flow of traffic in an already congested area, among other concerns. Other concerns such as the landscape of our city in West Footscray is changing rapidly. We have significant developments underway, including an 8 triple-storey apartment complex at 111 and 113 Essex Street, which is right next to the dog park on Essex Street, 68 to 78 Summerhill, West Footscray, 50 dwellings, 590 to 596 Barclay Street, proposal for 56 residences over 5 floors, the new Woolworths development on Barclay Street, and multiple warehouses along Ashley Street, facing towards Essex Street, approved by this council last month. We are on the cusp of a dramatic increase in vehicles, both cars and trucks, and foot traffic. In this context, completely closing Market Street will only exacerbate congestion, force more vehicles onto smaller surrounding streets, and create unnecessary bottlenecks. Further objections are that the traffic won't disappear from Market Street. It will get pushed elsewhere, in this case, largely onto Buxton Street, Summerhill Road and Blandford Streets. Buxton and Blandford Street in particular runs along a primary school, a popular dog park and Shorten Reserve, a highly active area used by children, families and the community. It would become the main thoroughfare for diverted traffic and parking, yet no mitigation measures or planning have been put in place to manage that outcome. Shorten Reserve is decreasing their car parking for the clubs by 80%, and Market Street closure will result in another substantial loss of car parking spaces, making it difficult to find car parking on sports days for home and away teams and practice days. That's why this decision should not proceed with at least without an updated local area traffic management plan. Our current local area traffic management plan for the area is of many years and provides no insight into how these new developments and proposals intersect. I'd like to add that there's a call for popular farmers market to be relocated to this site. Upon discussion with the operator they have with myself and the Director of Infrastructure, they have had no desire to be relocated to this site, saying it's unsuitable for their use. They have instead entered into a proposal with our council to relocate to Johnson Reserve. We have no other interest from any other markets or event space at this point in time. Instead of a permanent closure, I support the motion by Councillor Lamb and urges Council to consider a hybrid solution, a shared space model that allows for the periodic closure, a flexible traffic calming plan or seasonal activations. These approaches would allow the precinct to evolve without cutting off vital access. We must take a measured, community-first approach. The solution should prioritise the everyday needs of our residents, not just the vision of what a plaza could be. I cannot in good conscience support the full and permanent closure of Market Street under the current circumstances. I hope we can work towards a compromise that balances growth, safety and accessibility with proper planning to back it up. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No. I'll now put the motion to a vote.
Can you ask for people to speak against the motion? I don't think you did.
You can speak to the motion for or against, yes. You can speak.
Okay, then
both.
I'd like to speak.
Sure, please, Councillor Thomas.
I think this is a really backward step that focuses on something that is not necessarily related to the proposal of Rec West. This is a really great project and it's been through, I can't remember how many years of community consultation, extensive community consultation with all the users of the site, with the people who live in the surrounding areas. There was I can't remember what it's called, a community advisory groups set up specifically to provide input into the development and to consider all of the issues, including traffic and parking. And that took place over a number of years. And the overwhelming response was one of support for the project and understanding how it sits within the sort of urban framework of that part of West Footscray. And we're only here tonight because, of course, if council is considering closing a full road or part of a road, we have a legislative requirement to consult, to advertise that and to consult with our community on that. So pretty much all the way up to this point, there has been overwhelming support for the project. And my fear is that if this motion is passed, that it'll either be sort of the death of the project, or it's going to, the impacts are going to be quite severe, and our officers will have to go back to the drawing board to work out how to work with a situation where we don't have a road closure, and we'll again have two separated pieces of open space and community facilities when we could actually have one larger space which is joined up and which will bring not just the local West Footscray community, but the much wider Maribyrnong community and our neighbours and people who visit this site, all those fantastic community benefits that are going to be realised from this project. So, you know, I hear what people are saying, but I genuinely think that, particularly for people who are local, that the only way to reduce congestion around this area is to make different transport choices. Now, if you're local, you can choose to walk or to cycle. You'll be able to walk and cycle through this project, this development. So I really encourage councillors to not to support this motion, because I think it's an enormous backward step. Our community have been with us for the last 4 or 5 years on this project. The previous council was completely behind it, and I'm hoping that this council will continue that legacy and stand firm and not support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No. I will now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. Your one. Your alternate motion. The motion is lost. We now revert back to the original motion. So I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Thomas.
Oh, it's another long one. That Council 1 note and consider the following in relation to a proposal, in brackets proposal, to close part of Market Street, West Footscray, to vehicular traffic between Shorten and Barrett Reserves, allowing access to vehicles through the south section of Market Street for access to the Shorten Reserve car park, and to construct the closed road into an open space reserve, allowing access to bikes and pedestrians under Clause 9 of Schedule 11 to the Local Government Act 1989. A, attachments 1 to 4 to this report, being copies of all written submissions. B, attachment 5 to this report, being the minutes from the hearing of submissions meeting 26th of May 2025. C, attachment 6, being the 2020 transport impact assessment. D, attachment 7, being the 2025 traffic impact assessment. E, attachment 8 to this report, being a report from the Department of Transport and Planning. 2, note and consider attachment 9 to this report, which is a summary of all submissions received. 3, following the consideration of all written submissions and verbal presentations, resolves to proceed with the proposal for the reasons set out in this report. And 4, requests the Chief Executive Officer or their delegate to notify all persons who made submissions on the proposal of Council's decision and the reasons for it.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Yangi. Are there any points or questions of clarification? No. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Well, what I said last time, but in reverse, I guess, in support of the motion. It's a great project, and I know, you know, that many people in our community are going to benefit. Many people who visit and play sport and bring their dogs and bring their kids will really benefit from this project, and I'm really pleased that it's going ahead.
Councillor Pereira. Oh, sorry. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
I would, thank you.
Councillor.
I just wanted to say a couple of words, and starting with first, I guess, acknowledging and really wanting to thank all the residents who have taken the time over the years, including the present, to share their thoughts and, more importantly, their concerns with council. I guess just reiterating some of what Councillor Thomas has previously mentioned, but just want to acknowledge that the Shorten and Barrett Reserve Master Plan, which incorporates the closure of Market Street, has been a topic of interest for over 5 years now, and that the broader master plan, which seeks to create an accessible, safe and family-friendly precinct over Market Street is, I think, a really exciting project for our community, and one that I believe is not only greatly needed, and which will address the current needs, but also it will address the needs of our community well into the future. And from the residents who have provided feedback, I noticed that a number of them shared, concerns, which obviously you've touched on, Mayor, as well, regarding potential impact to traffic flow and congestion as a result of the closure, and as you mentioned, concerning development. So I was hoping, if I'm allowed to, I guess I just wanted to either seek clarification or potentially direct a question to the Director of Infrastructure or the CEO.
Yes, what's the nature of your question?
Who should I direct it to?
What's the nature of your question? Maybe to infrastructure, yeah.
So I suppose, given some of the points that you've raised, Mr. Mayor, previously, but also just following on from the feedback that's been provided by some residents, I was wondering whether if you can shed some light on the considerations that have been given to, what are we, potentially exploring in terms of remediations for some of the concerns that have been shared.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Union. Through you, Mayor. So there have been 2 independent traffic impact assessments undertaken as part of this process, and they've both indicated that the projected volume shifts in the surrounding streets due to the road closure will adversely impact the road network, and this is because the traffic volumes projected will remain within the acceptable movement rates for the surrounding roads. However, we are empathetic to the concerns raised by some of the residents and understand why they may have concerns to this change. And so we can say now that the decision's gone through council that with the project proceeding, we'll be undertaking traffic management plans as part of the development and construction process, and that'll guide the traffic flow and the direction of traffic throughout that construction period, and we'll communicate that wide and far as part of that process. Post-construction, we'll also undertake a further traffic impact assessment and analysis in real time, so just to actually see what's happening post the construction, and if required, if there are any issues identified, we're happy to undertake measures to address those concerns.
Thank you. Sorry. So I guess just to add on that, considering some of the concerns that have been raised is not only with regards to the closure of that street, but also the surrounding developments, Woolies, Ashley Street, the warehouse thing, and the property developments occurring around the area. I guess I'm curious, as part of the local area traffic management plan development, will that sort of factor in when those other developments are also occurring? And is it possible, are we also going to be communicating, where that overlap might occur, and potential remediations that we can offer residents, for all of that?
So through you, Mayor, so I think that the current local area traffic management plans, 2018, I think, so about seven years old now. We can certainly review that and update it. There's been a number of initiatives that have been implemented from that around traffic calming and trying to improve the road safety for all users in that area. So we can certainly take that on board and look at updating the current local area traffic management plan. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think Councillor Pereira, you had...
Thank you. This is a very exciting opportunity for the community in West Footscray, and I think it's important to say that Market Street isn't being closed. The local road and the car traffic can be redistributed across numerous other streets in the area, allowing the space in Market Street to be opened to a myriad of diverse uses that will positively contribute to the community. The space can be used to create a vibrant, connected community hub linking Barrett and Shorten reserves, a space for play, sports, festivals and everyday connection. Makes it safer for children, pedestrians, cyclists by removing through traffic and improving active transport links. It's backed by traffic assessments and approved by the department, and there are no, concluding that there's no impacts on road safety and emergency access. It responds to a lot of community feedback over many years that residents have asked for better open space, more play areas, public toilets and safer access. And it supports Council's strategic goals around climate, health, active transport and public space. The traffic can be redistributed, not necessarily increased, to surrounding streets, and we can absorb it there. This is about transforming a road into a place for people. It's a smart investment in our community's future. I appreciate that it is a big, brave step forward for our community, and it might take some adjusting. And change is hard. The issues that have been raised, they can be addressed, and we're very committed to continuing to work with the community to address those concerns and to ensure that this can become a well-loved addition for everybody in our community. Let's continue to work together, as we've already been doing for many years, and celebrate the potential that this project will enable.
Thank you, Councillor Pereira. Just before we continue, I'd just like to advise that we've lost live stream, we've lost power, and the live stream has stopped streaming live. We are, however, recording, and we will get a message on the website ASAP. Been told that the satellite failed and kicked everyone out, but it is a recorded meeting and it will be put online. So I do apologise to the viewers who are watching and anyone trying to join in. We'll try and restore it ASAP, otherwise the recording will be live on Council's website. We'll continue on other councillors. Councillor Semra.
Yep. I would reiterate Councillor Pereira's statement that, this can be seen as, the road being opened, the space being opened. We unlock a rare and significant opportunity to create a truly integrated community space in one of the fastest growing parts of our municipality. It allows for the development of a larger unified parkland, a place where families, young people, elders, and all members of our community can connect. It offers a wide range of benefits, one being a significant increase in an open space in a built-up high-density suburb. And, to be honest, opportunities like this don't come often. This project directly responds to the priorities outlined in the Maribyrnong open space strategy, which identifies the need for more green space in urban neighbourhoods, just like West Footscray. 2, an expanded tree canopy that contributes to Maribyrnong's urban forest strategy goals. 3, safer, more pedestrian and bike-friendly environments, especially for children and families. With West Footscray Primary School nearby, this project supports the broader objectives of the Melbourne integrated transport strategy by encouraging active travel to school, which can be seen with our Active Paths program. 4, a seamless single park space instead of fragmented green spaces broken up by traffic. This enables greater usability and stronger community interaction. And 5, more opportunities for events and activations, which aligns with Council's goal of creating a vibrant, welcoming public spaces that foster social inclusion. I want to fully acknowledge that the closure of a road can cause concerns, particularly around local traffic, vehicle access, and short-term disruption. These concerns are valid and must be addressed respectfully and transparently. That's why there will be a project, to my understanding, there'll be a project-specific local area traffic management plan that will be developed. We are not ignoring concerns. We are actively planning around them with the well-being of the whole community in mind. Some of the benefits of this decision won't be captured, in traffic data. They'll be felt in it day to day, in the safety of a child walking to school or riding to school, in the joy of, seeing our community gathering, under the shade of new trees, or in the relief of having more green space. This is forward-thinking, a forward-looking decision. It's about creating a safer, greener, and more connected area, and one that honours the unique character of our city while preparing for the challenges ahead. I'm proud to, support the vision and the entire, Request redevelopment project and invite the community to walk with us on this journey.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. Councillor Meredith.
Thank you. I'd just like to say basically what everybody else has said, but I'm really excited about the plan. I think it's a fantastic plan. And I'd also like to acknowledge the community that has written in as well. And I think that feedback, whether it be positive or negative, is really important to get. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Any other councillors? I'd just like to wanted to say a thank you to our member for Footscray, Katie Hall, who contributed $10 million towards this project, without whom we wouldn't have got this project off the ground back in 2022. So just a big thank you to the state government for that. So if there are no other councillors want to speak to the motions, I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Move on to agenda item 9.8. Proposed lease 19 Hocking Street, Footscray, Bulldogs Community Children's Centre. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Semra. Sorry, yes, I'll just ask Councillor Semra to vacate the chair for this motion. Thank you for that, Councillor Thomas. We'll call you back ASAP. So I'll just restart that. Agenda item 9.8, proposed lease 19 Hocking Street, Footscray, Bulldogs Community Children's Centre. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Thomas.
Thanks. I'd like to move an alternate motion to the one that's the officers have recommended. That Council, pursuant to Section 115 of the Local Government Act 2020, the Act, A, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or their delegate to commence the required statutory procedures to consider entering into the lease. B, authorise the commencement of the community engagement process in accordance with Council's community engagement policy pursuant to Section 115 of the Act, involving a public notice of the proposed lease uploaded on Council's website and sent to surrounding properties. C, note that the proposed lease terms are set out below. 1, tenant Footscray Football Club. 2, premises part of 19 Hocking Street, Footscray. 3, term 5 years. 4, rent $2,000 per annum plus GST indexed to CPI. 5, maintenance, tenant to be responsible for all maintenance excluding ESM, which will be council responsibility. 6, removal of the right of first refusal clause in the new lease arrangement, and 7, any other such terms as determined to be reasonably necessary by Council's Chief Executive Officer or delegate to conclude negotiations with the tenant on the proposed lease. D, note that public notice is for a minimum period of 28 days and provides the option for submitters to request as part of their written submission to be heard by a committee consisting of the whole of Council on a date to be confirmed if required. E, note that once all submissions forming part of the community engagement process pursuant to Section 115 of the Act have been considered, a further report will be presented to Council to decide whether or not to enter into the proposed lease.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. I'd call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Pereira. Are there any questions or points of clarification? Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I guess just to say that Council has a lease with a third party in this case, which is an unusual situation for council to be in. Ordinarily, where we own a building, a childcare centre, we offer a lease out to the market and we have a lease directly with a service provider. And in this case, we have a third party that we have a lease with who then offers a lease to another service provider to provide the childcare services. So changing, and that restricts council's ability to make decisions about what happens in the childcare centre, and how the service is provided and things are run, and et cetera, et cetera. So changing a couple of conditions of the lease will allow council at the earliest opportunity, which is 5 years, and which is also consistent with the lease periods that council has with other early childcare service providers within childcare centres that we do own, and it will end this unusual lease arrangement that we have, bring the decision making about this service provision directly back under council's control, and then at the end of the 5 years, council will be able to make just forward decisions for the future that will be for the best benefit of our community. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion? Councillor Pereira?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, childcare is a sensitive and stressful issue for many families. I know because I've been through the process. We desperately need more investment in childcare and consistency and certainty for families. We also need to bring this centre back into the stewardship of council because the unique sublease arrangement has created some ambiguity around the maintenance responsibilities. A shorter lease that returns the centre to direct council stewardship sooner will enable clearer accountability and better long-term planning for families, staff and the facility itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pereira. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? I might speak to it. So, upon seeing the motion, I think it's council's legal and operational obligation. We're required to enter into a formal lease agreement with the Western Bulldogs to enable ongoing occupation and management of the facility. One of our objectives is to ensure that this important community asset continues to deliver the highest possible benefit for local residents. Entering into a new 10-year lease allows council to negotiate a substantial capital contribution from the Western Bulldogs towards the improvement of the facility, significantly at no financial cost to ratepayers. The proposed lease arrangement aligns with council's adopted leasing and licensing policy, ensuring fairness, transparency and the value to the community in the management of council-owned assets. And I'd also like to recognise the initial investment. This facility was made possible due to significant funding secured by the Western Bulldogs. The original 15-year lease reflected and acknowledged this initial investment and partnership. And while the childcare sector is mature, council is actively working to secure commitments from the Western Bulldogs regarding the ongoing affordability and quality of service to ensure it remains accessible to our local families. And also I'd like to say, obviously before any final decision is made, the council will undertake a community consultation process to ensure residents have a meaningful opportunity to provide feedback and input. Also just wanted to highlight, all the things that the Western Bulldogs do for our community. Now, any other councillors would like to speak to the motion? No. I'd like to put Councillor Thomas's alternate motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your vote.
Oh, do I have a right of reply?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course. Councillor Thomas, you'd like to exercise the right of reply?
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I just want to really respond. I think, the Footscray Football Club, which is the Bulldogs, has had this lease arrangement for 15 years. And over that time, they might have secured some upfront capital investment, but over that time, there hasn't been any investment from them in the building. So I think that's one of the reasons why I think council needs to take this back. Because we need to be able to control more thoroughly what happens in the building, who's in there, who's delivering the service, and how it's managed and maintained. And yes, while the Bulldogs do a lot of great work in the community, that's kind of a separate issue. That's part of their brand, and it's part of what they want to do in the community, and it's part of what, this council is really glad to partner with them on, a whole lot of programs in the community, but I think that's a separate issue to what we're talking about tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. So I'll now put the alternate motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. We have a equal division. Can governance or someone direct me?
It looks like we have 3 for and 3 against. So, Mayor, as the chair, you have the casting vote.
Okay.
Now, do we do that? How do we do that? Do we do it electronically or just?
Okay. So, so as the chair, I have the casting vote. So I would like to vote against that motion. So the motion is lost. We'll now revert back to the original motion. I'd call for a councillor to move the motion. Councillor Lamb.
Office recommendation that Council number 1, pursuant to Section 115 of the Local Government Act 2020, authorize the Chief Executive Officer or their delegate to commence the required statutory procedures to consider entering into the lease. B, authorize the commencement of the community engagement process in accordance with Council's community engagement policy pursuant to Section 115 of the Act, involving a public notice of the proposals uploaded on Council's website and sent to surrounding properties. C, note that the proposed lease terms are as set out below. 1. Tenants football club. 2. Premises part of 19 Hocking Street, Footscray. 3. Term 10 years. 4. Rent 2,000 per annum plus GST for ESM essential safety measure. 5. Capital works requirement for the tenant to deliver a capital contribution to the development of the building. 6. Maintenance tenant to be responsible for all maintenance excluding ESM, which will be council responsibility. 7. Removal of the requirement for the not-profit provider. And 8. The right of the first refusal clause, not including a new lease arrangement. And other such terms as determined to be reasonably necessary by Council Chief Executive Officer or delegate to concluding negotiation with the tenant on the proposed lease. D, not that public notice if for the minimum period of 28 days and provide an option for submitter to request as a part of their written submission to be heard by a committee consisting of the whole of the council on the date to be confirmed if required. E, not that once all submissions forming part of the committee engagement process pursuant to Section 115 of the Act have been considered, a further report will be presented to Council to decide whether or not to enter into the proposed lease. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lamb. I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Yengi, are there any questions or points of clarification? No. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Yes.
Your microphone, please. Thank you.
Yes, Mayor, just briefly. The Western Bulldogs are a very important community partner in Maribyrnong, and Council have enjoyed a long-standing and productive relationship over many years with them. So the Western Bulldogs are one of the most community-focused clubs in the AFL and have a commitment to ensure our community growth and thrill. The program, like the Son and the Daughter of the West, and the work of the Bulldog Community Foundation, demonstrating their commitment. The community-based work of the Western Bulldog has a focus on youth development, gender equity, diversity, and inclusion for over community well-being, for all multicultural communities as well. So this early year facility was built in partnership with Council and the Bulldog more than 15 years ago with the funding support from the state and Commonwealth governments. The lease has also now lapsed and we need to be renegotiate the lease term. So this is an important to see further investment, the facility to ensure that the centre continuing to provide the best quality environment for children in our city, while minimize the cost of the Maribyrnong taxpayer. This 10-year lease also gives a security of tenure and will also ensure that Council can have a confidence that the service will be better maintained and support over the life of the lease. So, Councillor, I commend the motion.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Sure, I'll just say a couple of things. Well, so as most of you know that there is a significant demand for sessional kinder and long day care across our municipality, something that my colleague Councillor Pereira mentioned earlier. And in particular, there is increasing demand around Footscray and Yarraville, and we know that this demand is only going to increase as our population continues to grow over the next decade. I believe that the proposed lease not only supports Council's goal of increasing provision of high-quality, affordable childcare across our municipality, but our families will also benefit from investment into modern facilities, strong service standards and long-term stability. I do acknowledge that the lease arrangement, as it currently stands, may not be the standard template, of an arrangement, but I do believe that this proposal provides a community-focused solution in order to meet our growing local demand without diluting quality of service. It will provide continuity and security for childcare for whoever the childcare provider ends up being, and will ultimately encourage competitive pricing, which again will make childcare access more affordable for our families.
Thank you, Councillor Yengi. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Thomas?
Yep, I just want to say that I think a 10-year lease, I'll say it again, is 5 more years than we offer our other service providers, and they have security of tenure for that length of time, and we've got some very, very good service providers in our other childcare centres. It's not about what this process is not actually about how great the Bulldogs are and how fantastic their community programs are. We went to the Sons of the West graduation last week. Everybody talks it up. It's a fantastic program. So is the Daughters of the West. This is about bringing a council asset under a lease arrangement back under council's control as soon as possible, so that we can make our own decisions about what happens in that asset, in that centre. Sorry, and changing the lease arrangement won't increase or decrease any of the spaces that we currently have, childcare spaces across the community. It will be exactly the same number. So for me, having it under council's control is the best step, and that's what I'm supporting tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. And I'd just like to reiterate the things I said before in the earlier alternate motion, but just importantly, I wanted to add that this proposal does not exclude any not-for-profit organisations from applying or being involved in our childcare delivery model, and that's ensuring equity and openness in the process. So, thank you. If there are no other councillors, I'd like to put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. It's equal votes once again. So, as chair, I'll cast my vote and I support the motion. So the motion is carried. Move on to item agenda 9.9, Bellairs Concept Plan 2025. I call for a councillor to move the motion. Councillor Meredith.
That Council 1 notes
Sorry, just before we go on, if I can get Councillor Mohammed back into the chambers, please. Just a moment, Councillor Meredith. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, yep.
Welcome back, Councillor Semra. And we've just started the item agenda 9.9 Bellairs Park Concept Plan 2025, and we've just had Councillor Meredith who's moved the motion, and she's just about to read out the motion.
That Council 1 notes the community feedback on the draft Bellairs Park Concept Plan shown in Attachment 1. 2, endorse the final Bellairs Park Concept Plan 2025 shown at Attachment 3. And 3, note the commencement of the implementation of the concept park with the budget allocated for that purpose in financial year 2025-2026.
Thank you, Councillor Meredith. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Semra. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Yep. I love the design of this park. At the moment, it's a pretty dusty, just a tiny little dusty bowl where, there's not much play space for dogs or for kids. So I think this design is fantastic, and it's hasn't had anything done to it for a very long time. I love the idea of dogs having really beautiful, clean spaces as well to play, as well as children having beautiful spaces. And I really love this design of the park.
Thank you, Councillor Meredith. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion? Just formally second. Yep. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Pereira.
Yeah, I think this will be a lovely new little park. There's lots of nice little moments included in the design. I think based on the feedback, it would be desirable in the winter months to extend the off-leash dog times from sort of 6 or 7 in the evening to 8 a.m, which will give local people the opportunity to pop down when all the kids are already rugged up at home and in bed, hopefully, not looking at you, my child, and so that they can give their dogs a run without having to traipse all the way down to the Yarraville Gardens. And this will also increase passive surveillance for commuters in the area. But yeah, let's see what happens. Beautiful spot.
Thank you, Councillor Pereira. I see no other councillors, so I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Agenda item 9.10, Council submissions to the Port of Melbourne, Draft Port Development Strategy 2055. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Thomas.
That Council 1 endorse the submission as shown in Attachment 1 to the draft 2055 Port Development Strategy. 2, noting the wide-ranging issues expressed in Council submission, request that the Mayor write to the Premier of Victoria, Minister for Planning, Minister for Ports and Freight, Minister for Environment, Minister for Climate Action and Minister for Health, seeking a meeting to discuss matters raised in Council submission. 3, request that the Chief Executive Officer write to the Chief Executive Officer of the Port of Melbourne, acknowledging the close working relationship between the two organisations and extending an invitation for the Port to brief Council on their long-term development strategy. And 4, request that the Mayor write to their counterparts at the cities of Melbourne, Hobsons Bay and Port Phillip, attaching a copy of Council submission and seeking a meeting to discuss how advocacy regarding the Port's impact on local communities can best be coordinated.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. I'd like to call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Meredith. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor, I would. Firstly, I'd like to say thanks to the officers for putting together such a strong submission that really reflects many years, I think, of work with council and advocacy also, and work within the community on this issue and on similar issues. And I think the submission really marks a significant milestone in council's advocacy to improve air quality and the natural and urban environments in Maribyrnong. And in 2023, I led council to declare a health emergency, and there's a direct link that connects that declaration and the content of this submission. I think the failure by the Port of Melbourne to properly engage with council over its plan changes are laid out in the content of their strategy and highlighted in council's submission. From a failure to consider the general environmental duty and the impacts on public and environmental health as mandated by the Environment Protection Act is only one of the many flaws in their approach. Additional truck numbers, lack of progress in getting freight onto rail, moving the liquid bulk storage closer to residential areas. Any one of these issues is cause for concern for our community, but when they're combined in the one strategy for future management of the port, then that concern accumulates and reverberates across our entire community. And added to this, which was reported in The Age today, the decision by MTAG, Maribyrnong's foremost community advocacy group on trucks and air quality, not to prepare a submission because of their lack of confidence in the process, points to a lack of concern and duty of care by the Port of Melbourne to its nearest neighbour. Council's submission sets out very clearly what we think the Port of Melbourne should do to rectify the errors in their draft strategy, and we again extend an invitation for them to meet with council to further discuss a way forward that prioritises the health of our community and the environment. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Yep,
Thank
please. Thank you to the officers for putting together the submission. It's a fantastic submission and it really supports the voice of the community. I know that a few months ago, a grade 3 student said to me, "Oh, you're a councillor, aren't you? Can't you make the air better? Can't you make the air better? Because I have really bad asthma and it's really hard to breathe." So this grade 3 kid is already finding it really hard to breathe. And then we are putting more layers and layers onto this. So I support council's submission. I think it's fantastic. The Port of Melbourne, it lacks consideration of the community health. It offers no real concept concrete plan to protect the people like that grade 3 kid, and he's one of many. In Maribyrnong, we've got some of the worst air quality. It's very well known. 20,000 trucks every day on the local streets. We've got the health emergency declared in 2023, and the strategy from the Port of Melbourne proposes expanding the storage of hazardous materials as well, so right on top of the doorstep of people. So, and that's just not good. That's just lack of duty of care. Increasing freight volumes, using surplus capacity on roads without modelling of human health impacts. So everything that the community and MTAG and Maribyrnong Council have been fighting for, it basically ignores all of that. And I just think that growth cannot come at the cost of our health, as it has done in the past. And the Port of, they must reconsider, and the health of the community needs to come first. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Meredith. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Pereira?
Yeah. Thank you to the officers. It's a really good submission. The Port of Melbourne's draft strategy outlines major expansion plans and poses significant impact to Maribyrnong residents, especially through increased vehicle volumes, air pollution, and the expansion of hazardous liquids bulk storage closer to homes. While we recognise the port's economic role, the draft lacks transparency and offers no clear mitigation for health and amenity impacts, and it fails to consider broader freight and land use planning contexts, and it also revisits proposals that councils previously opposed. Council's submission calls for stronger protection for residents, greater transparency, and proper engagement with around the real impacts to surrounding communities. We're really keen to work with the Port of Melbourne and the state government to ensure that the port's operations don't come at the cost of community health, safety and livability. This draft strategy is deeply concerning and detrimental to our community, It increases risk to residents in Seddon and Yarraville by proposing expanded liquid bulk storage closer to homes without clear justification or adequate safeguards. The failure to plan for a remote rail accessible freight terminal means that growth in the port's capacity is heavily reliant on trucks, including overnight operations. It will bring even more heavy vehicle traffic to already burdened roads like Williamstown Road, which still lack a truck ban despite years of advocacy. I'm calling on the state government to show basic decency and finally commit to banning trucks on Williamstown Road. This corridor is predominantly residential. It was never designed for high volumes of freight traffic, and it's already beyond capacity. Once again, the West is being asked to carry the burden of freight and logistics for the entire city and state without investment, relief, or respect. It's unacceptable, and people are sick of it. Our residents deserve clean air, safe streets, and a say on what happens on their doorstep. This strategy must be sent back and properly reconsidered with communities, not just containers, in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pereira. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your vote. The motion is carried. Agenda item 9.12, Heritage Advisory Committee Membership Appointment. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I skipped that over. I'll start again. Agenda item 9.11, Community Recovery Committee. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Yengi.
That Council endorses the revised Community Recovery Committee Terms of Reference shown at Attachment 1, notes the extension of the Community Recovery Committee tenure to 31 December 25, and notes the expression of interest process will open for new members and independent chair position.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Yengi. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Lamb. Same time. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Sure, just briefly. I guess I just really wanted to say that I'm really pleased to support the extension of the Maribyrnong Community Recovery Committee. The committee, which is comprised of local residents, has been a critical asset in the recovery efforts following the 2022 floods. And also, I'd really like to thank our committee members who have been with us over the past couple of years and who have supported implementation of programs that support social connection, as well as health and wellbeing for local residents.
Thank you, Councillor Yengi. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you.
Please put your microphone on.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, the staff who's involved in this sort of significant, important for the organising and involved with the creating sort of like membership. And I can see that the membership is in this group is a very wide range of stakeholder, the community, councillors involved. Thank you, Councillor, for your passion and supporting, and being involved in this group. I can see that it's really, really important for ongoing and to listen and act on for the people who live in the area, in particular in our council. And I move and support that motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lamb. Councillor Semra.
Yep, and I also think it's important to acknowledge that the recovery needs in Melbourne are still ongoing, and there are people that are still displaced, living in damaged homes and rebuilding, and experiencing mental health, ongoing mental health impacts. So with this committee, they play a vital role in sharing, lived experience, expertise in guiding the recovery process.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. Are there any councillors who'd like to speak to the motion? I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your vote. The motion is carried. Now we'll move on to agenda item 9.12, Heritage Advisory Committee membership appointment. I call for a councillor to move the motion. Councillor Semra. Half a second. I'll change it to Councillor Thomas.
Okay, I'll do it. Thanks. That Council 1, appoint Natasha Radford, Olympia Kaziaris and Julia Beckinsale as the community members on the Heritage Advisory Committee. 2, appoint the professional membership nominations from the historical and museum-related entities to the Heritage Advisory Committee. And 3, note that the Director of Planning and Environment will write to the 7 community member nominees, thanking them for their interest in the committee and advise them of the appointment of the 3 representatives.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Semra. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Just to say that, this, of course, is one of our important community advisory committees that's been in existence for some time. Having 3 new faces who will bring a lot of professional experience to the heritage issue is really great, and I'm sure that they'll be a wonderful. They'll all be wonderful additions to the conversations that the committee has and the recommendations that and advice that they give to council officers and councillors as well. So I do want to thank any outgoing members of the committee as well for their contribution. It's a great contribution that people make when they join advisory committees. They bring, their heart and soul to issues that come before the committee. So yes, I really do want to say thanks to anyone who may be leaving the committee, and thank you and welcome to our 3 newest members.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Yep. I'll also like to extend, my appreciation as well as welcome to the new committee members, and to also state that, like all our advisory committees, advisory committees play a central role in our decision-making process by, giving us advice, bringing their expertise and experience to help us obviously tackle issues, highlight new and ongoing, problems, and bring some innovative or fresh ideas around solutions.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No, well, I'd just like to add, resonate what the 2 councillors said, but also in particular, I wanted to thank outgoing Chair Cameron McDonald, who served on the Heritage Advisory Committee for 9 years, I believe it was. So I'd really like to thank him for the crucial role that he played, and welcome the new members that are on there. So just wanted that noted. If there are no other councillors, I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Agenda item 9.13, Maribyrnong City Council 2024 Local Government Election Report. I call for a councillor to move the motion. Councillor Thomas.
That council received the Victorian Electoral Commission report on the 2024 Maribyrnong City Council general election shown at attachment 1.
I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Lamb. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Formally moved.
Would the seconder like to speak to the motion? Seconded.
Formally seconded.
Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Agenda item 9.14, Climate Emergency Strategy 2020 to 2025 Annual Progress Report. I'll call for a councillor to move the motion. Councillor Semra.
That Council note Climate Emergency Strategy 2020-2025 Annual Progress Report and the Progress of Council Plan 2021-2025 Actions 1.1.1 and 1.1.4 in the 2024-25 financial year.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Yengi, would the mover like to speak to the motion?
No.
The second would like to speak to the motion.
Formally seconded.
Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Thomas.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to highlight there's a lot of actions in this the action plan that goes alongside the strategy, but I did just want to highlight a couple of things which I think are really important for the community to note that our officers have been working on for some time and had some good wins with. Council officers now, when they start with council, they have an induction process and there's climate emergency training as part of that induction process. So from day one, when someone joins our organisation, as part of their complete induction, they're being inducted into what responding and acting in a climate emergency, regardless of what their role in the organisation is, what that means. So I think that's a really great thing that's happening ongoing now. Council, of course, now has a climate emergency advisory committee, and the Mayor is the chair and I am his trusty sidekick, and we've got a really great group of dedicated and enthusiastic and highly skilled community members that are keeping us on our toes, which is great. The Getting Off Gas program, which is a really excellent program. We've had some great wins with the MAC and receiving grant funding to change that from being gas to electric run, which is fantastic because that's our biggest greenhouse emitter of all of our operations. And our operations centre down on Sunshine Road, thank you, Celia, on Sunshine Road is now also fully electric. So that's really great because I'm pretty sure that is in one of our, at least our top 10 emitting buildings. And of course, the town hall here is also gas-free. So with the renewal of the town hall, council decided that should be gas-free, and that fits in with our council climate emergency approach. Of course, we've got some public charging stations now, EV charging stations out that direction for people to come and use, to pay and use, which is great. And they are immediately, like when they were switched on, they've been constantly used by people, which is fantastic. And also something that probably people don't always associate with climate emergency and carbon emissions is drawdown, which is pulling out the, and look, I'm doing it now with my hands, pulling out the carbon out of the atmosphere through tree planting and planting vegetation, which of course takes in carbon and produces oxygen. And we've done some really good work around assessing what our drawdown commitment is through our street tree planting. And as far as I can tell from the report, our street tree planting program offsets council's operational emissions. So that's a really good thing. This will be, sorry, could I just also check with the CEO? I think the report is the progress chart is going up on the website for community to see. That's right, yeah. So please have a read. It's a great read. There's a lot of great work being done by our council officers. So thank you to them as well.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Semra?
Yeah. That was a good segue into what I wanted to bring up in terms of the progress. We want to highlight the implementation of the climate emergency strategy shows strong progress, with 76% either completed or on track, with others currently on way. This is a significant outcome given the ambitious scope of the strategy proposed and the implementation timeframe that was given.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Move on to agenda item 9.15, Community Grants Program. Yes, Councillor Lam.
Mayor, to the Mayor, I have some conflict of interest. If one of the applicants, recipient, I'm on the board director on that organisation.
Okay, so I'd probably ask you to leave the chamber,
Thank you.
vacate the chamber, and we'll call you back as soon as it's over. Hopefully not too long.
She can declare it. I mean,
If there's no conflict, we'd like to call her back in, and she can't get out of it.
she comes back and she'll be fine.
While we wait for Councillor Lam to come back, I just wanted to, on the previous agenda item, climate emergency strategy, on Councillor Thomas's point, just want to tell the public we apologise that the EVs are not been charging for about a week at our council building, and our director is looking into it and getting it sorted ASAP with some technical difficulties, but they'll be back online ASAP. We're working on that. So, welcome back, Councillor Lam. So we'll resume with agenda item 9.15. We've identified you don't have a conflict of interest, Councillor Lam. The Community Grants Program, Acquittal Report 2023-2024. I call for a councillor to move the motion. Councillor Yangi.
Surprise. That council note the Community Grants Program 23-24 and the outcome and impact of the Community Grants Program 23-24.
Thank you. I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Thomas. Are there any questions or points of clarification? Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Formally moved.
Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
I'll say a few words. Just because this is one of my favourite programs that council runs, and this is, of course, the outcomes and the impact from the 2023-24 program, where, and I'm just going to read the notes. Council funded. We had 71 applications. 61 were eligible. Again, of course, always requesting more money than we had in the budget by, if my maths is correct, at least maybe 3 times. And we managed to fund 24 projects, 28% of which were targeting culturally and linguistically diverse communities. We had over 7,000 people participating in the projects that were funded. And we had some really great feedback around that what happened after people participated in one of the funded projects, that overwhelmingly they felt a greater sense of wellbeing, more connected to their community and more able to participate in community life. So really ticking off the goals and objectives of this program, which is so fantastic to see. And we've, within the council report, there are 4 highlighted programs that were funded in 23-24, One Ball, the Viet Speak Community Festival, the Disability Resource Centre and the East African Women's Foundation. So just from those 4 shows you the great breadth of impact and parts of our community and issues that are of interest to our community through this program. So, of course, thank you to everybody who put in an application. I think, the next round will be coming up soon, so please keep a lookout for that on our council socials, and we'd really love to see as many fantastic projects as possible. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Semra, you have something to add?
Our community grants program is vital to, creating a thriving community. As Councillor Thomas had mentioned, that participants of these funded programs, they felt a greater sense of well-being, more connected to their community. But I think also the funded applicants, it gives them an opportunity to build their capacity. So you had funded applicants that felt they were more able to engage with council. We found that funded applicants strengthened their local network, learnt a new skill, gained knowledge, experience, and/or confidence that gives them the confidence to continue the great work that they're already doing and continue their impact in community. I think which has longer lasting impact.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. Any other councillors? No, I'd just like to, Councillor Meredith. Go on.
Yeah, just briefly, I just wanted to say thank you to the community for putting together the grants and applying. It takes a lot of effort, and I really appreciate the time that you've done.
Thank you, Councillor Meredith. And I'd just like to add that my time here as a councillor, this is probably the one most asked question I get out in the community from the community groups, about the community grants program. So, as Councillor Thomas mentioned, where it's set to the community grants program is set to reopen in July again. So all the community groups and organisations, I encourage you to, prepare your proposals, especially in line with the program's focus areas to continue building a vibrant and inclusive Maribyrnong. You can get in touch with our community grants officer on the website, or it's just grants@maribyrnong.vic.gov.au, the email. So I urge all organisations to apply. So no other councillors. I'd like to now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your vote. The motion is carried. Moving on to agenda item 9.16. We've covered governance report, so we're ahead of this. So we'll move on to notices of motion because that concludes our agenda items. Notices of motion. Councillors, there are no notices of motion to be tabled at this meeting. I'll now move on to councillor question time. Councillor question time is managed in accordance with Council's governance rules. Councillor question time is limited to 15 minutes unless councillors consent to an extension. Are there any councillor questions? No. So did you have a question? Okay, nothing. So we'll now move on. Councillor question time is now closed. Any urgent business? Councillors, are there any items of urgent business? No, so we'll proceed to confidential business. Councillors, there are no confidential business to be tabled at the meeting. And just before I declare the meeting closed, I just wanted to say thank you to all the councillors, all the people that came to the, sat in the gallery, especially you, sir. You've been here for almost 3 hours with us, so thank you for the journey. It was almost a 1,000-page agenda that we've gone through today, so thank you to everyone and all the officers. And I'll now declare the meeting closed at 9:22 p.m.